Alright guys, so I want to talk to you, do something that I've probably done in other videos in the past, but it's good to, make new videos every so often because not everybody goes and watches all your old content, and just kind of keep your ideas fresh. So I want to talk about some of the important things you want to take into consideration when buying a defensive handgun. And the reason I want to do this is I actually just helped a friend buy his first handgun. And it was a long, kind of drawn out process of him trying a lot of stuff at the range, and then going to Academy and going to local gun store, and then another local gun store, and then Bass Pro, and just looking at all these different guns and trying to decide what he wanted to do. And one thing that I used to kind of help him figure out what was going to work best for him is the idea of the 3 C's, which is caliber, capacity, comfort. I'm going to use this Glock 17 as an example here for the purposes of the video. These are the 3 things, in my opinion, that are going to help you make the best decision, especially if you're talking about buying something for defense, whether it's concealed carry, whether it's home defense, whatever it may be. It's not going to be a range toy. It's potentially going to be a defensive firearm, and especially, again, if you're going to purchase your first gun, or maybe it's not your first gun, but you're still newer to firearms. These are just 3 of the things that I think you need to take into consideration. So first, let's talk caliber and capacity, because these are 2 things that you can choose when you are buying the handgun that potentially can help you in a bad situation later on. Now people will say, okay, well, what caliber do I need to buy? Well, that is kind of a personal decision. Usually when it comes to defense, I recommend 9mm and up. That's not to say 380 and whatever, anything lower than 9mm wouldn't work. It works all the time, but you carry a gun because of the 1 in a million chance you need it. Why not go a little step further and take into consideration, well, what if a situation I'm in requires a bigger caliber or requires more capacity? And that's why those 2 things are really, really important. What if you find yourself in a situation where you decided that you were going to go with a smaller caliber, let's say 9mm. You were going to go with 9mm instead of 45, because you wanted more capacity. And then you run into this stereotypical guy hopped up on acid or something, and he can't feel how many times he gets shot. What's going to do you better in that particular situation? A larger caliber that potentially can cause a larger wound channel, or more capacity? Well, the thing is, you don't really know. But maybe you can make some guesses. Maybe in this particular situation, due to your training, you've learned how to poke holes center mass very, very quickly, in which case more capacity is probably actually the better choice. The difference between a 9mm and a 45 in a situation like that, if you can control the gun better, if you can keep a level head and maintain your target and put more holes center mass to cause more blood loss and more tissue damage, you might be better off with more bullets. But at the same time, you have to think, well, what if that person really would be better suited to be stopped with a bigger caliber? What if 45 was the right choice to make with less capacity in that particular scenario? Now you can run around in circles in your head with this scenario, but these are the types of things you want to think about when choosing a firearm, and figure out what's more important to you when it comes to caliber, when it comes to capacity. Do you want to split the difference and go 40? You got a little less capacity than 9, but you have more capacity than 45, and then you got more power than 9, but less power than 45. You can certainly do something like that. There's 357 SIG, there's 10mm, you go revolvers, there's 38 special, 357, and you get into 44 or 41 special, things like that, right? Now obviously capacity, when you're talking about a revolver, isn't really a factor. It's going to be 5 or 6 rounds, occasionally 7, depending on the gun you're going to get. But in those particular scenarios, somebody who's buying a revolver is less worried about capacity than they are just the caliber of the gun, or they prefer that particular kind of platform, that design of firearm, more than a semi-automatic pistol. All right? So, caliber, capacity, 2 things to take into consideration. They are important, and you want to make those right decisions up front. Don't experiment, if you can help it, because this is going to be your defensive tool. And not everybody can afford to buy multiple handguns. This may be the only one you have for a while. So try to just roll through scenarios in your head when it comes to caliber and capacity, and figure out what's more important to you, having more bullets or having bigger bullets. Now for the 3rd C, comfort. This pretty much covers everything else. This is all about personal preference. What do you like? Hopefully you've gotten out there and you've shot enough guns. You know whether you like semi-auto, you know whether you like revolvers. When it comes to semi-auto, you know whether you like polymer striker fired guns versus, you know, possibly polymer double action single action, or a single action 1911, or an aluminum framed Beretta, which is a double action single action with a decocker. You've gone through and you've kind of figured out what type of trigger you like, what type of action you like, what kind of sights you like. For instance, on this gun right here, I like on my defensive firearms, I like to have, you know, some sort of tritium or you know, high vis front sight on mine. I do not like the 3-dot sights. I just don't like them. It's not a sight picture that I prefer. I'm quicker with the Glock sight picture or a SIG sight picture or something like that. Again, personal preference. That's about comfort of the gun, ergonomics, ease of use, that type of thing. Okay. Also, just simple things like getting them in your hand. A lot of people, surprisingly, don't like the more European angle of Glock firearms. If you don't, maybe Smith & Wesson M&P is something for you if you like polymer striker fired guns. Again, these are the types of things that come in when we're talking about comfort. What's going to help you use your firearm better? Okay? Is it something with the sights? Is it something with the barrel? Is it the size? Is it the grips? Is it the trigger? Is it the action? Whatever it is, figure those things out ahead of time to work on that last C in this little scenario we're talking about. But that's pretty much it. It's really, really simple. Again, this is a basic video for people who are just getting into firearms or buying that first gun. This isn't for everybody. Obviously, if you own firearms for a while, this is something you aren't too worried about. But that's what I try to tell people who I help out with buying new guns. Remember the 3 C's: caliber, capacity, and comfort.